The Greater Lafourche Port Commission is excited to present the following information regarding the Galliano Airport Connector and Roadway project. This information is being provided to the public as a component of the environmental review requirements of the project. Thank you for taking the time to review this information. The Port Commission welcomes your comments and would encourage you to give us feedback regarding this project. The following agencies and organizations represent the project team. The owner is the Greater Lafourche Port Commission, Galliano, Louisiana. The state administering agency is the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, Baton Rouge. The lead federal agency for this project is the Federal Highway Administration. The project engineer is Picciola and Associates, Cutoff, Louisiana. Meeting purpose. Let's begin by describing the purpose of this meeting. A. To provide the public with a general description of the proposed project. Purpose B. To describe the goals of the project as well as the anticipated benefits. C. The anticipated impacts will also be explained. D. Public feedback will be taken in for consideration and possible implementation. And finally, E. To provide you with the appropriate contact information you'll need for commenting or asking questions. We want to encourage you to continue to be involved with this project. Project phases. 2 phases of this project have already been completed. The Lafourche Parish government completed Phase 1, LPG Airport Road, in their sales tax district program. It included 3,500 feet of reconstruction and drainage work of approximately $1.2 million. Phase 2, which was also recently completed, was titled the EDA Grant LA 308 Turn Lane and Airport Road. The project included approximately 2,500 feet of reconstruction and drainage work along Airport Road. This $900,000 project was a joint effort between the Port, the Lafourche Parish government, and the Economic Development Administration. The proposed project to be discussed here is the third and final phase. Its completion will finally make the connection between Airport Road, LA1, and Louisiana 3235, and the neighboring communities to Port Fourchon, a connection that has been in the planning for many years now. Part 2, Project Goals and Objectives. This project includes 4 major goals. The goals or objectives include A. Provide direct, safe connectivity to Port Fourchon and the statewide highway network. B. Enhance local connectivity to Louisiana 3235. C. Improve the resilience of the transportation infrastructure, industrial operations, and communities in Lafourche Parish and the Gulf of Mexico. And D. Improve the economic competitiveness of the South Lafourche area. Part 2A, Consistency with Urban Planning. Current development plans have been used as an evaluation tool for this project. The Houma Thibodaux Metropolitan Planning Organization provides transportation planning services for Lafourche Parish. The Metropolitan Transportation Plan and the Transportation Improvement Plan both include the subject project. In 2011, South Central Regional Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan was completed. The proposed project includes sidewalks along the bridge, but an extended sidewalk system is currently not within the scope of work. Part 2B, Project Design Alternatives. Several reasonable build alternatives were considered in the development of this project. Impacts to natural resources, land use, and other conditions were considered. Alternative locations for the bridge were also considered, including improvements to the current Galliano Bridge. Signalized intersections as well as non-signalized intersections were studied. Alternative bridge intersection alignments, including a roundabout intersection, were considered early on. Finally, the no-build alternative was also evaluated as a comparison to the build alternatives. Part 2C, Public Information. Additional information relating to the project location and design recommendations are available to the public. The complete environmental assessment document is also available for review at the following locations: the South Lafourche Library, 16241 East Main Street Cutoff; the Baton Rouge State Library, 701 North 4th Street, Baton Rouge; the office of Picciola and Associates at 115 Picciola Parkway in Cutoff. Contact Jack Plaisance at 985-632-5786 or jack@picciola.com for more information. The complete environmental assessment for this project is available for viewing at the Louisiana Department of Transportation environmental website at this address. Written statements may also be submitted via email to Jack Plaisance, Project Manager, Picciola and Associates, until Friday, August 28, 2020. Part 2D, Encroachments on Floodplains. The impacts to the floodplain associated with the project will not increase the base flood elevation to a level that would violate applicable floodplain regulations. The drainage system affected by the project has been designed to maintain pre-construction hydrologic conditions and will not result in any substantive effect to base flood elevations of the surrounding area. The hydraulic design practices are in accordance with current LADOTD and FHWA design policies and standards. All elements of the project design and construction meet federal requirements, resulting in no adverse impacts on the floodplain. The Lafourche Parish Floodplain Administrator has no objection to the proposed project. Part 2E, Impacts to Wetlands and Other Waters. The Louisiana Department of Natural Resources identified a small area of potential wetland impacts along the bank of Bayou Lafourche. The Greater Lafourche Port Commission purchased 0.05 acres of fresh marsh habitat at a cost of $3,241 for compensatory mitigation impacts. State Permit P 2019-1239 was issued on May 8, 2020. The permit is included in the Environmental Assessment Report. The Department of Army Corps of Engineers issued a PGP permit on May 13, 2020. It is also included in the environmental assessment. The Corps did not require additional mitigation credits to be purchased. Part 2F, Section 106, 4F, and Section 6F impacts. As described in the environmental assessment, there are no parks or recreation areas within the study area. The Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries Office of Wildlife has stated that there are no state or federal parks, wildlife refuges, scenic streams, or wildlife management areas present. The bayou itself is used as a recreational resource, but is not considered a park for purposes of the 4F analysis. Because no parks or recreational resources are found in the study area, there also are no parks or recreational resources affected by the project, and none have benefited from land and water conservation funds. No properties in the study area are listed or eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. Studies of the historic archives, historic maps, and field investigations reveal the presence of no historical properties eligible for the NRHP. The State Historic Preservation Officer has confirmed this determination. No 4F or 6F properties are anticipated to be impacted by the project. Part 2G, Relocations. Construction of the proposed project would result in the conversion of existing land uses. One parcel containing a single-family residence and vacant land would be converted into a transportation right-of-way. The Port Commission is working to acquire the entirety of 18276 West Main Street parcel. The extension of Airport Road will require an estimated 4.93 acres of new right-of-way. The existing right-of-way along LAs 1 and LA 308 will require minimal right-of-way areas, and LA 3235 is sufficient for the addition of the necessary turn, acceleration, and deceleration lanes. No land use change or relocations would result from these acquisitions. Project engineers seek to avoid or minimize any such acquisitions while also seeking to meet state design standards. When acquiring property, the LADOTD and GLPC follow policy described in the Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Policies Act of 1970 and amended in 1987. LADOTD provides information on this policy to impacted landowners and interested individuals. Feel free to contact Jack Plaisance at the below contact information with any questions. Right-of-way acquisition and relocation. The LDOTD brochure explaining acquisition of right-of-way and relocation assistance program is available at this link, or can be obtained from the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development Real Estate section at this address, or you can contact Jack Plaisance at pciola.com, jack@pciola.com, or 985-632-5786. We do suggest you read the brochure carefully. If you have any questions regarding your individual situation, consult with Mr. Bryce Otan of the Greater Lafourche Port Commission at this number. Steps in the acquisition process. It is the DOTD's objective to pay just compensation for all properties required for the project. Owners of required properties may be contacted by an appraiser or appraisers and given the opportunity to go with them on the inspection of the property. This will provide owners an opportunity to point out things that may be important to the evaluation of the property. All evaluations will be reviewed by a review appraiser and approved by DOTD. After review and approval, a real estate agent will contact each property owner and present a letter setting forth the amount of the DOTD's cash offer for the purchase of the property. He will also explain the property value and discuss any alternate offers, including possible options to keep and move any buildings, fencings, etc. Relocation assistance. Relocation advisory services. Current and continuing information on availability and process for comparable, decent, safe, and sanitary dwellings for displaced residents, comparable commercial properties and locations for displaced businesses, finance charges, federal and state programs offering assistance to displaced persons. Relocation assistance payments. Relocation assistance payments are separate and in addition to payments for the purchase of your property. They may include moving expenses, replacement housing, business reestablishment expenses. Moving expenses payments will be made to any individual, family, or business in legal occupancy of the property either at the start of negotiation or at the time of purchase. Relocated businesses. Displaced businesses, farms, and nonprofit organizations may be paid the actual reasonable expenses of moving, together with certain eligible costs incident to the move. Some businesses may also be eligible for certain actual costs incidental to re-establishing their businesses. Instead of payments for moving expenses, some business owners may be eligible to receive a payment based on the average annual net earnings of the business. If the business meets the qualifications, this payment shall not be less than $1,000 nor more than $40,000. Moving payment information for businesses may be found beginning on page 22 of the brochure. Replacement housing payments. Replacement housing payments are also available to qualifying owners and tenants. They must occupy the property at the start of negotiations, must have been there at least 90 days, and must move into decent, safe, and sanitary replacement housings. The amount of your maximum supplemental payment will be given to you in writing. Additional requirements and payment limits may be found beginning on page 14 of the brochure. Certain owners and tenants not in occupancy for at least 90 days or who become occupants after negotiations have started may qualify for replacement housing payments. They must have been in occupancy at the time the property was acquired by the department and must move into decent, safe, and sanitary replacement housing. Right to appeal. Applicants for a relocation payment have the right to appeal the DOTD's determination of eligibility for payment and/or the amount of payment. Appeals must be submitted to the real estate director-manager with 60 days after the applicant has been notified that his claim has not been approved. Secondly, final decisions on eligibility and payments will be made by the DOTD's real estate administrator in Baton Rouge. And finally, additional information on appeals may be found on page 26 of the brochure. Other terms and conditions. To the greatest extent practicable, no person lawfully occupying real property shall be required to move without at least 90 days written notice from DOTD. The notice will indicate the specific date the property must be vacated. No person lawfully occupying a dwelling will be required to move unless and until comparable, decent, safe, and sanitary replacement housing is made available within the general area of the project. The replacement housing must be available within a reasonable time prior to the scheduled move of the occupants and must be within the occupants' financial means. Replacement housing must be fair, open, and offered to all persons regardless of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Other terms and conditions. Prior to negotiating for purchase of your property, a real estate specialist will personally contact and interview all persons who will be required to relocate. The benefits will be explained and a determination made of individual needs and intentions for relocation. A special word of caution. Before moving or purchasing replacement housing, contact DOTD to assure your eligibility and the prompt payment of your relocation benefits. If you move without prior notification to DOTD, you do risk losing all possible benefits provided by the Relocation Assistance Program. Part 3, Major Design Elements. 5 major design elements make up the proposed project. The elements include A. New 3-lane vertical lift span bridge, B. 0.4 mile 2-lane connector roadway, C. roadway and drainage improvements along LA 308 and LA 1, as well as 3235 and the proposed connector. D. Utility relocations for water, gas, and communications. E. A sound barrier wall is currently being studied for possible use in this project. Project scope, major design elements. Here we can see the location of the major elements on a vicinity map. A. New vertical lift span bridge. B. New connector roadway. C. Road and drainage improvements throughout the project area. And D. Some utility relocations along the LA1 and LA 308 corridors. Zooming in on the location of the proposed bridge, we can see that it is a 3-lane lift-span concrete structure across Bayou Lafourche. The existing roadways adjacent to the bridge will be realigned and overlaid. This proposed bridge will be similar to the LA1 to LA 308 bridge in Matthews. The second major element is the connector roadway. This roadway is approximately 4/10 of a mile long and will provide direct access from Louisiana 3235 to the South Lafourche Leonard Miller Airport. The proposed asphalt roadway will also include incidental drainage improvements along the new corridor. Elements C and D, drainage and utility improvements. Elements C and D can be seen on this vicinity map. Element C includes drainage improvements along the new corridor, LA 308, LA 1, and across the 3235 highway. Element D will include required utility relocations near the proposed bridge. These are required due to slight widening of the roadways. Element E, sound barrier wall. The recently completed noise study for this project indicates that increased noise impacts in the immediate area of the connector road may justify the use of a sound barrier wall. The proposed barrier wall could be located adjacent to the connector road as shown on this preliminary drawing. Feedback from the impacted residents will be considered prior to the implementation of this element. Part 4, Project Impacts. The next section describes the anticipated impacts of the proposed project. Construction impacts to landowners. Roadway improvements, Highway 3235. The connector roadway will be directly accessible from LA 3235. Entrance and exit accesses are being developed at this time for approval by the Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration. These elements will be designed to provide safe access to and from the proposed connector. Landowners along the west right-of-way should experience minimal impacts as the improvements should not require additional right-of-way acquisition. Landowners along the east right-of-way may experience minimal widening of the highway right-of-way, especially in the vicinity of the connector. Roadway improvements, LA1 and LA 308. During construction, landowners along LA1 and LA 308 will experience some traffic impacts, minor noise impacts, and will be in the proximity of the bridge construction work. Temporary traffic detours and reduced speed limits and other delays in the traffic flow should be expected. Utility relocations along LA1 and 308 corridors. As mentioned, the widening of these roadways will require the relocation of some buried utilities. Landowners should expect to see typical excavation activities associated with this type of work. Residents should stay clear of these areas as much as possible. Upon completion of the work, these changes should not be noticeable. Bridge footprint, sheet pile stabilization, guardrail, and fender system. The proposed bridge will be the most dramatic impact during construction. The east and west banks of Bayou Lafourche will be modified to protect the roadways from erosion and allow for safe movement of traffic. Navigation along Bayou Lafourche will occur in the same fashion as other bridges in the area. The bridge structure will be protected from impacts by a timber construction fender system. A bridge operator will control automobile and waterway traffic across the structure. Land acquisition along new connector roadway. The largest impact to landowners will occur at the location of the proposed connector roadway. The Port Commission is currently finalizing the acquisition of this property. During construction, there may be minor noise impacts. Drainage in this area and the adjacent properties will be improved at the completion of the project. Drainage ditch relocation. The existing ditch immediately to the south of the connector roadway will be regraded to facilitate positive drainage in this area. The details of this element are currently being designed. Construction impacts should be minor. Construct or replace cross drains to Bayou Lafourche. We are anticipating that several cross drains under LA1, LA308, and LA3235 will be replaced in the project. Temporary traffic impact should be expected. These changes will facilitate improved drainage into Bayou Lafourche and to the outfall canals west of 3235. Part 5, Funding Sources and Schedule. Part 5 provides a breakdown of the current funding sources and current target dates to project completion. For funding, the BUILD grant contributes $16,422,000 to the project. The state of Louisiana contributed $9,350,000. Both the Lafourche Parish Government and the Greater Lafourche Port Commission have contributed $4,675,000 for a total project budget of $35,122,000. Current target dates. The traffic study was recently completed. Environmental permitting and right-of-way acquisition is ongoing. 100% bid documents and the project walkthrough is anticipated to take place in September of 2020. Bid advertisements are anticipated to take place in November of 2020. Construction work is expected to start in January of 2021. Utility relocation should be completed by mid-February of 2021. And all project construction work is expected to be completed in March of 2024. Thank you for your participation. The project representative's contact information is listed below. Please don't hesitate to call or email if you have any questions. Thank you.